Hi, I'll be speaking to you about cholesterol and heart disease. I'll be speaking about how heart disease is increased 10 years after being in menopause for women or andropause for men, and how it relates to nutrition. Insulin resistance has more to do with heart disease, which relates to diet. It has nothing to do with fat, but the type of fat and carbs you eat. Nothing to do with if the fat is saturated or not. Eating low fat has not reduced heart disease, mortality, and obesity. It affects your hormone and makes self-discipline around food really hard. On top of that, as you age, you have a reduction in hormone, which will lead to weight gain, lack of muscle, energy, and insulin resistance. Insulin resistance increases where everything makes you put on abdominal fat, which causes inflammation and more degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, which we don't want. And that is if we don't make a lifestyle change. Cholesterol is very important. Without it, we will die. 80% of it is made in the body. If you don't eat it, your body makes it because it needs it. If you eat a lot of it, your body won't make it or won't make a lot of it. It's going to keep it at that level, at that sweet spot. It is needed for memory, thinking, and for immunity. Cholesterol is not synonymous to heart disease. Try to lower heart disease by lowering cholesterol, or trying to lower heart disease by lowering cholesterol is like lowering the risk of obesity but not eating lettuce. Does that mean lettuce doesn't have calories? Sure it does. Is that the target you want for your obesity effort? We shouldn't be focusing on LDL and HDL. There are up to 13 subtypes of cholesterol and they don't behave the same way. The size, pattern of these lipoproteins are all meaningful. Make sure your doctor isn't just judging your cholesterol level by good and bad cholesterol when there are 13 of them, and some have nothing to do with heart disease. The LDL-A particles, which is not measured on the good and bad tests. Yes, they can be of concern. The pattern A or B can be predictive of insulin resistance. You could have perfectly good normal cholesterol with a good test that looks at bad and good cholesterol and its pattern. You might have numbers that are much more concerning. You could be undertreated by just looking at LDL and HDL levels. These are from 1960, especially when they see your LDL is high and you will be overtreated with statin if tested properly, you probably might see that the particles don't do anything. When you get a prescription for statin drug, insist on more information not to take it based on tests that is obsolete. That's just looking at LDL and HDL. Ask your doctor for particle tests that looks under the hood and test how many boats are really in the water. Not just the levels, they really need to check properly to see how much of it you have. If you have a problem with too much stuff being around, there is more likelihood there will be an accident. If you have a nightclub that is so crowded, there's more likelihood someone will spill a drink, someone will get pissed off, and there'll be a fight. Just like COVID, if you already have lots of inflammation in the body, you're more likely to react badly to COVID. Same with cholesterol. The cargo of the boat doesn't matter as much as the number of boats in the water. That's what you need to look at the number. You need to look at the numbers. There is no good and bad cholesterol. Cholesterol is carried in the HDL and LDL, and if you take it apart, it's identical cholesterol. What you really want to know is the activities of these lipoproteins. How many are there? The more there are, the more likely there will be an accident. If your LDL is high, you need to know how many carriers are in there. Those lipoproteins don't just carry cholesterol, they also carry protein, triglycerides, and we are just focusing on one compartment instead of looking at the whole picture or the bigger picture. Now, women, like I said earlier, are more likely to have heart disease 10 years after entering menopause, which has to do with plummeting hormone. Insulin resistance gets worse as we get older. Even if you took menopause out of the equation for the moment, you will see a relationship between declining effectiveness of insulin and increase in cardiometabolic diseases, which is true with men as well. It is very much related to increase insulin resistance, which happens as we get older. Now, that alone will account for more metabolic problems like heart disease. You add lower estrogen, hormone imbalance, those two things together are a perfect storm for pointing south. It is not just the hormones that change in women or men. It is that increased amount of insulin, resistance. Please listen to the audio I made on insulin resistance to understand how this works. Like everything performs less as you get older. If you don't do something about correcting it, things will continue to deteriorate. Now let's look at oil and its connection to heart disease. Saturated fat doesn't cause heart disease. A dozen studies have shown this. It is not true that vegetable oil or seed oils are good and animal fats are bad. This is not true. Good fats are fats that are not toxic. Bad fats are fats that are toxic. It has nothing to do with animal or vegetables. How do you know they are toxic? When you heat it, it becomes carcinogenic compound. When they are heated and cooled when they are heated and cooled in a rest and thrown out once in a week in a restaurant. So in a restaurant, when they are heated and cooled in a restaurant and thrown out once in a week in all fast food restaurants. Vegetable oil performs worse than animal fat under those circumstances because they form more compounds because they can't stand the heat. Does it lead to inflammation? Is it a pro-inflammatory fat? Some good fats are coconut oil because they contain lauric acid. Palm oil is good as well. Saturated fat in grass-fed butter, 100% pasture-raised beef. These are cows that are raised just grazing on grass and not fed GMO feed. They are non-inflammatory. It's not about saturated or unsaturated. There are seed oils. These seed oils are not vegetable oils because it's cheap, because these companies can't or couldn't sell them. They called it vegetable oil as a healthy product, like canola oil, rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, It has to be degummed, deodorized in high temperatured, terrible chemicals made from GMO plants. They are toxic for your body. Sunflower oil, like I mentioned, corn oil, canola oil, rapeseed oil are all high in omega-6. They are meant to be in balance with omega-3. These seed oils, or vegetable oils as we call them, are very high in omega-6, which causes inflammation in your body and drives chronic disease, especially heart disease in women. Omega-6 is a high contributor to that commotion. That is the bad fat, not saturated oil. No chemical study shows coconut oil increases the risk for heart disease. They look at your cholesterol level as a measure that it causes LDL cholesterol, therefore can lead to heart disease. LDL particles should be looked at, not overall LDL. I really hope this helps, and I hope that if you're already on statin, that you start changing your lifestyle to help you manage your cholesterol level better. These things can be resolved if you change your lifestyle. Join my WhatsApp Eat to Heal group to learn how to add some healthy fat to your diet to help you manage your cholesterol level better. Please do not sit there on statin the rest of your life. These medications, including metformin for diabetes, reduce nutrients and minerals in our body. They will kill you before the disease itself would take your life. Don't sit there and do nothing, taking medication for the rest of your life. Somebody is making money from these medication that you live on. I really hope this helps you.